Jasper police have a couple of new vehicles, but they aren't police cruisers. We'll tell you more. Plus, a lawsuit against the Pike County School Corporation has now been dismissed, and Kelly Newman and Tom Crodel discuss the 100 Men Who Cook program tonight on Inform. All of that and much more is up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Hello, I'm Bradford Raths. Well, Jasper police can now patrol some areas of the city more easily than in the past. This morning, the department unveiled 2 new vehicles to be used in areas such as the Riverwalk and the Parklands property where patrol cars cannot easily go. One of them is an all-terrain vehicle, or an ATV, and the other is a side-by-side vehicle called a Viking. The department has had the vehicles for about 2 months now. They were able to get them decaled in time for this weekend's Strassenfest, which will be their first major trial run. The new vehicles come courtesy of a 6-month trial program through Yamaha. They are being provided by Jasper-based Obermeyer, Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki. Now, Jasper police are not the first area law enforcement entity to use this program. Store owner Keith Obermeyer says the program has worked well for the other departments that have.
We've done this for fire departments. We've done it for volunteer fire departments. We've also done it for the sheriff's department, which the sheriff's department ended up purchasing one that they use when they have maybe a field fire or something of that nature they need to get to, or an emergency somewhere that a pickup truck can't make it. And they've used it for that. They've used it for snow removal and some different things like that. So we've seen it work pretty well in the past with different agencies.
Meanwhile, Jasper Assistant Police Chief Nathan Schmidt says the new vehicles will certainly come in handy.
We're having our officers try to find usefulness for them, see how much we're going to use them, see what kind of benefits going to be to the program, and just see what we can do with them. Yeah, so it does make it easier for us.
Schmidt says he is anxious to see how many different uses the department can find for the new vehicles. Now, the department will have options for each of the vehicles after the 6-month trial. They could then extend the trial for another 6 months. At the end of that 6 months, the department could purchase one or both of the vehicles outright if they choose. Schmidt says the Viking has already been used in one case. He says a dog was stuck in a creek recently along the Riverwalk. The Viking was then used to pull the dog out of the creek and get it back to its owner. A federal judge has dismissed a lawsuit brought against the Pike County School Corporation by former Otwell Elementary Principal Rick Fears. The district's motion for a summary judgment was granted by U.S. District Judge Richard Young. Young wrote that canceling Fears' contract was a fair decision and was made with plenty of evidence to support it. Fears was originally fired back in September of last year after he was put on leave in early August just prior to the start of school. A fact of findings statement released by the Pike County School Board after Fears' firing cited teacher evaluations not being completed, along with falsified attendance records and violations of the Student Federal Education Right to Privacy Act as reasons for Fears' firing. Now, Young's ruling supported all of those charges. In his ruling, Young pointed to 2 meetings between Fears and Pike County School Superintendent Suzanne Blake about the evaluations. At the time of those meetings, Fears had started on 35 teacher evaluations, but none of them were finished until school ended. Fears also did not have notes available when Blake asked for them. Meanwhile, the FERPA violation was supported in the ruling by a photo that Fears sent to a local newspaper. Young believed the picture was a violation of FERPA. The picture was of an Otwell 3rd grade class that had passed the state iRead exam. Grades were not mentioned with that photo. As for the attendance records, an elementary secretary testified to the board that Fears asked her to change 15 students' attendance records back in 2010. When she refused, Fears allegedly changed them himself later on. Fears' attorney Mark Phillips stated that Fears' rights were violated during an administrative hearing held in late August. He contended that the board could not be challenged at that hearing and hearsay evidence was used. Young ruled that hearsay evidence is allowable with exceptions in administrative hearings. He also ruled that Phillips did have enough time to oppose the school board. Otwell Elementary was a 4-star school 3 of the last 4 years of Fears' tenure as principal. The school was also named as a National Blue Ribbon School in 2011, an honor they also received this past year. The Bar Reeves School Corporation has now responded to a complaint filed by the district's Classroom Teachers Association. In the June complaint, the CTA alleged several violations of the state teachers' collective bargaining laws by school board members. The allegations included new teachers being hired at higher salaries than what experienced teachers were making, as well as 2 teaching positions being eliminated and filled by certified assistants who were paid less. In their response, the Bar Reeves School Board denied those allegations. The board stated they did discuss the issues with the Teachers Association and even gave them the chance to give their input. The board further stated that they had attempted to meet with the CTA and their legal representation since March of this year, but the CTA wasn't willing to discuss the issues, thus they went unresolved. The 2 sides are now set to go through mediation sessions with the Indiana State Teachers Association. There will be 3 sessions in all, and all will have to be completed before September 8th. If mediation were to be unsuccessful, the case would go to a full hearing in Indianapolis later this year. Road construction season is in full swing, and some of it is set to affect our viewing area. First, the Jasper Street Department and private contractors will soon begin applying preservation materials to a number of city streets. That work is set to begin this upcoming Monday morning and will affect parts of 16 city streets before all is said and done. Notable ones will include parts of Jackson, Emily, and West 13th Streets. Street Department officials say the streets will be affected for 1 to 2 days, including overnight closure to get the work completed. The work is expected to go on through the entire month of August. Now, daily work on any designated street will start at about 7:45 a.m. The street would then be closed overnight and would reopen at 7:30 the next morning if all goes well. Residents along the affected streets will be notified 1 day before any work is done, either in person or with a door hanger. Then secondly, folks who drive along State Road 145 through Perry County will need to find a new route starting next week. On or after this upcoming Monday, officials with the Indiana Department of Transportation will be closing the road from Interstate 64 south to Bristow to apply a chip and seal treatment to the road. Now, chip and seal is done to seal small cracks that form in highways. INDOT officials say those cracks form over the years after heavy traffic and the various winter freeze and thaw cycles. If they aren't treated, those cracks fill with moisture, and that leads to the potholes you see on the road forming after the water freezes and expands. INDOT says national research found that every dollar used to preserve payments leads to savings of $6 to $14 in future repairs that are more disruptive to traffic. In this case, the chip and seal treatment will be done to preserve and protect a roughly 7-mile stretch of State Road 145. Loose stone will be on the highway temporarily during the initial curing phase for the asphalt. The stretch of highway will be open to local traffic only, but drivers are still being urged to slow down and allow additional space between vehicles in order to keep stone chips from damaging windshields or paint on car bodies. After the chip seal cures, crews will then sweep the highway to clear off any remaining loose stone. They will then lightly apply dark asphalt materials to lock in leftover rock and to minimize dust. For more news and information about road projects in southwestern Indiana, you can follow INDOT Southwest on their Facebook and Twitter pages. Finally this evening, today marked day 1 of the Jasper Strassenfest, and this year will feature plenty of new entertainment. The events got started at 9 o'clock this morning with a youth golf tournament over at Rooksor Golf Course. Other events throughout the kickoff day included a Strassenfest history exhibit at the Du Bois County Museum from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., the Jasper City Mill opened from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and the 6 o'clock opening of the beer garden. The official opening ceremonies for this year's Strassenfest got underway just a little bit ago on the main stage. Now, as mentioned, there is also new entertainment this year. Those acts include Phil Dirt and the Dozers, Haywire, the Sisters of 2nd Avenue, and Creedence Revive. Some of the other entertainment items will include wiener dog races and a vintage baseball game to be played at the Schrader Sports Complex. Gary Schnell is the Strassenfest's entertainment coordinator. He says this year's entertainment fits all age groups, which factors into putting a lineup together.
That's what we look in every entertainment group, not just to entertain to one sector of people, age group of people. We like for them to be able to play songs that all age groups of people will enjoy.
This year's Strassenfest will run through Sunday. Other featured events will include train rides on the Spirit of Jasper both Friday and Saturday evenings, kids water ball at the 6th Street Fire Station, the backyard chili and barbecue contest Saturday morning, and the Sunday afternoon parade, which gets underway at 1 o'clock. WJTS will be on hand for tonight's opening ceremony. You can tune in to tomorrow night's newscast for my full report. All right, coming up after the break, your local forecast, sports with Kurt Guxell, and Inform with Kelly Newman and Tom Crodel. That's all up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Local people watching local people.